Certainly.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to Assessment Appeals Board, January 19th, 2017 for Tulare County. Sitting on the board today, myself, George Azunian, William McKinley to my right, Matthew Graham to my left. Alternates are Glenn Fowler and Lance Morris. The reason that we're a little bit delayed is that we have a new representative from County Council. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm Jeff Kewen, Deputy County Council. I apologize for being late for your first meeting. Hopefully we won't repeat that.
Thank you.
Glad to be here, though.
In the other assessment appeals boards that I've attended, they always, if the attorney is not there, it's always subject to the assessment or to the county council's approval. Having a member of the county council right here, in effect, included in our thing, we can wind up coming up with a definitive answer because we do have counsel here. In some cases, the assessment appeals board have no counsel for the assessor or the board. So I think the Tulare County has made a wise decision there. Welcome aboard.
Thank you so much.
Okay. So, agenda item number 1, board member comments. Anybody on the board have a comment? Hearing none, go to staff. Madam Clerk?
No.
Okay. And assessor?
No, sir.
Oh, we're moving right along. Second item on the agenda is Saputo cheese and protein, and I understand that this is a stipulation.
That's correct.
Okay. First of all, is there anyone in the audience representing Saputo cheese? Seeing none, then I believe that we'll need to get you sworn in, and then the clerk will read in the calendar item.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give in the matter now pending before the Assessment Appeals Board is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
I don't have the numbers in front of me. Please state your name for the record.
Lee Moore.
Okay, you'd like to read in the application.
I don't have them in front of me, but I think it's okay if the assessor reads them.
All right. Then we do have a stipulation here. Is that correct?
That's correct, sir.
Can you give us a little bit of a short explanation of what the issues were, and then we'll have you read your stipulation.
The issues for the applications for this stipulation were real property values with the Saputo Cheese Factory in Tulare.
Okay?
And we've been working with them for a number of years and have finally resolved it.
Great. Go ahead and read your stipulation in then.
Okay, stipulation for change in assessments. First application number 2012-00780, assessment number 181-100-032-000. Assessee is Saputo Cheese and Protein LLC. The applicant and assessor reached an agreement regarding real property value. Land value, $7,770,000. Structural improvements, $49,700,000. Fixed improvements, $139,050,914. Personal property, $1,001,396. Gives us a net taxable value of $197,522,310. The next application, and if the assessee and assessment number are the same on all these, so I don't believe they have to all be read in individually. Is that correct, Candace? Pardon?
Yes.
Oh, they do? Okay. Okay, application 2012-00781, assessment number 181-100-032-000. Assessee is Saputo Cheese and Protein LLC. Land, $2,650,000. Structural improvements, $39,350,000. Fixed improvements, $167,369,319. Personal property, $1,045,542. Gives us a net taxable value, $210 million, $414,861.
This is for the 09-10 roll year.
That's correct. That's application 00781. Application 2012-00782, assessment number 181-100-032-000. Assessee is Saputo Cheese and Protein, LLC. Applicant and assessor reached an agreement regarding real property value. Those values: land, $2,650,000. Structural improvements, $39,350,000. Fixed improvements, $149,400,148. Personal property, $897,785. Gives a net taxable value, $192,297,933. Next, application 2012-00783, assessment number 181-100-032-000. Again, that's Saputo Cheese and Protein, LLC. Applicant and assessor reached an agreement regarding real property value. Land, $2,650,000. Structural improvements, $39,350,000. Say what? Excuse me a second. It's not a 12. It's a 12 application. It's not the 12 value. Yeah. It's 2011, 2012. Yeah. Excuse me, I'm going to start over again on application 2012-00783, assessment number 181-100-032-000. Again, Saputo Cheese and Protein, LLC. Applicant and assessor reached an agreement regarding real property value. Land value, $2,650,000. Structural improvements, $39,350,000. Fixed improvements, $148,402,210. Personal property, $845,245. Net taxable value of $191,247,455. And that completes the stipulation.
Very good. Any other further questions by the board? Then do I hear a motion to accept the assessor's stipulation as read in?
I move that the application is number 2012-00780 through 2012-00783 by Saputo Cheese and Protein, LLC. I move that we accept the stipulation as presented by the assessor.
Good. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Stipulation carries. Accepted. Okay, next item on the agenda, and we have just a limited number of items, so this should be relatively simple. But next item is Bill Roper. Are you present to hear us? Okay. Does the assessor have any information on what happened to this applicant?
No, sir. He basically was a verbal withdrawal but we attempted to continue to contact him. Once he confirmed, we never heard back.
All right. So we'll wait until the end to deny him for non-appearance. Agenda item 4 is a withdrawal. Agenda item number 5, Rodilio and Joe Andrew Ortiz. Is the Ortizes here? Are they present? Do you have any idea of what's going on with them, Mr. Assessor?
No, sir.
Okay. And then Diego Luna Garcia. Are they present? Yes. Okay, would you like to step forward? Now, this is a continuance of our January or December meeting, and I believe the issue there was an interpreter.
No, that was the other one.
Oh, excuse me.
It was both.
What's that?
I believe it was both.
Both. Okay. So, in effect, we're going to swear you in, but just to make sure that we're ready to go, is that we do have a qualified, certified interpreter.
¿Está bien?
That's fine.
Yes, okay. Then, if that's the case, the clerk will swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give in the matter now pending before the Assessment Appeals Board is the truth,
La verdad.
the whole truth,
La verdad.
and nothing but the truth?
Sí.
Yes.
Please state your names for the
Por favor, diga
record.
su nombre para que conste en actas.
Mi nombre es Diego Lua
My name is Diego Lua
García.
Garcia.
My name's Ed Alonso.
Stephen Wise.
And Mr. Jose, go ahead and
My name is Jose Torres. I am a certified court interpreter. My certification number is 301180. I have an ID issued by the Judicial Council that has my picture on it, if anybody would like.
You want to show that to the clerk? Just so that if you went through the trouble of bringing a certification, we might as well show it to the clerk. Good. Then, Madam Clerk, go ahead and read in this case. Agenda item 6.
Application number 2015-00043, APN number 061-100-014-000. Application number 2015-00044, APN number 061-100-014-000.
Good. Now, if we can just refresh my memory, what is the issues in this case?
Tengo dos casos que quiero discutir con ellos.
There are two cases that I want to present.
El primero es que no estoy conforme a lo que me están cobrando.
The first one is that I am not in agreement with the amount that's being charged.
Segundo,
Second,
fui y hablé con el señor Steven
I went and spoke with Mr. Steven,
y el día que hablé con él, tuvimos una conversación si llegábamos a un acuerdo
and the day that I spoke to him, we had a conversation that we had an agreement.
y la razón que no llegamos fue como él me dijo que no importara que viniéramos aquí al board,
And the reason he said that we didn't have an agreement is that it didn't matter if we came here to the board.
por lo que él dijo como en una forma riéndose,
In a way mocking me.
dijo que lo que él diga allá y diga aquí va a ser lo mismo, que no hay ninguna diferencia.
That what he stated there and what he will state here will be the same. There won't be any difference.
Y no, yo pienso que se me hizo injusto, o no sé si están de acuerdo ustedes en esa forma.
And I think it's unfair. I don't know if you would all be in agreement with the way this was done.
Okay, if I can remember correctly, what was the purchase price of the property he bought?
La cantidad de la compra de la.
Aquí está toda la
I
información.
have all the information here.
Aquí si quieren verlos, puedo
you
darle
wanna
a
see
cada
it,
quien que mire
I
la
have
información.
one.
You want to hand that out? That's fine.
¿Quiere pasar?
Mr. Chairman, point of clarification. Who's hearing this? Is it Graham and Fowler, or is it me?
Good question, because this is a continuance. Who were the people that heard this originally? Can you tell us? The same. Okay.
Fowler and Graham.
So, well, it would be whoever's on today, which basically it's going to be myself, Mr. McKinley, and Mr. Grimm.
We're going to hear that.
That's correct.
All right.
The clerk had indicated that because there was no decision, that it's not going to be continued to the same people that heard it originally. So the sitting board panel today is the board.
And Chairman, if I may, we actually have the burden of proof, so if we're going to get in the presentations, the assessor would actually
But in effect, that this is, the property is a apartment complex, is that correct?
Like apartments.
Yes, but the assessor
In-unit apartment
is going above market, or what the purchase price was.
Oh, and in effect, then you would go first. Okay. In effect, that's what I wanted to first of all determine, which then I'm going to ask the assessor, what's this case all about? Give us your presentation. In effect, the assessor was going to present first, and Mr. Garcia will have the opportunity to question or to abut his claims, and then both sides would give a summary to the council, to the panel. Okay?
Very well.
All right.
Very well.
You're on.
It's actually,
It's going to be Mr. Wise and Mr. Alonso.
Okay.
Assessor's office.
Very good.
The applications do not make it clear exactly what facts are being challenged. Nevertheless, it is assumed, based on our conversations with the applicant, that his intention is to contest the change in ownership base year value because it exceeds his reported purchase price.
Okay, so in other words, you're going to present the rest of your case?
Yes, sir, Mr.
Okay.
The applicant acquired the property in September 2014 for a reported purchase price of $355,000. The preliminary change of ownership report, which is Exhibit A in your packet, that was submitted by the applicant at the recording of his deed, does not describe the terms or conditions of the sale.
They're looking at his packet.
Oh, I'm sorry. The packet that I presented to the board at the December hearing. last
Yes.
week. I'm sorry. The assessor's packet.
Okay.
Forgive me.
Go ahead and continue.
Thank you, Ed. However, the applicant has told Mr. Alonso, Mr. Moore, and most recently me, when we met on December 1st, that he purchased the property from a friend and that the $355,000 purchase price represents the balance of the loan which was assumed by the applicant. Because these conditions do not reflect an open market transaction, as outlined in Section 110 of the Revenue and Taxation Code, Mr. Alonso used the sales comparison and income capitalization approaches to value to establish a base year value of $600,000 or $60,000 per unit. Upon closer review of the sales comparables, it is our determination that if the property was available for sale on the open market, the purchase price would have been $550,000 or $55,000 per unit. Mr. Alonso will now present the market evidence that best supports this value conclusion.
Okay. Continue.
Good afternoon, board members and Mr. Chairman. My name's Ed Alonso. I'm a real property appraiser with the Tulare County Assessor. And I'm going to be presenting our market evidence for our value conclusion of $550,000. I was the appraiser who performed the original appraisal at 600,000, original transfer. At that time, I had contacted Mr. Garcia. He had let me know, by the way, this is just a little bit of background information before I present the details of the comparable sales. So at the time of the transfer, I had contacted Mr. Garcia, and he had let me know that there was a bank appraisal that was done, and I requested a copy, and at that time he did not want to provide a copy. A copy of the cover sheet of the appraisal was included with Mr. Garcia's application, which is Exhibit C of the assessor's package, which indicates a value of $550,000 by that independent appraiser, although we never did have a chance to review the actual appraisal itself. For our valuation, we have prepared a comparative sales worksheet. That is the last 2 pages of your package. You can refer to that as I go through the individual comps. Just as a preliminary note, we made very few adjustments to the comparable sales. We only adjusted for time on 2 of them, and that was the only adjustment we made. So we were very conservative on the adjustments.
I don't know that this makes a difference, but looking at this comparable sales approach, comp number 4 in Exeter,
Yes, sir.
I may have owned this property in sometime in the 70s. It looks familiar, but I'm not exactly sure I owned it. Does that make a difference to you
It doesn't to me. 'Cause
and the assessor's office?
No,
Oh, I wouldn't think it would be, but I just want to disclose that, okay? And then in effect, basically, then I'm going to make sure that the applicant has no problem with that. Okay, very good. Then we can go ahead and proceed.
Okay, so again, if you'd like to refer to the last 2 pages of the package as I go through the individual properties. First of all, the subject is 540 Lakeview in Wood Lake. The photos of the property are on page 3 of the package. I took those photos on December of 2016, which fairly represents what I saw, which is a nice, well-maintained apartment. Following page 4, includes a Google Street View, a Google Overhead, to give an idea of the neighborhood. The property was sold in September of 2014. It's 10 units. They're all single-story. It was built in 2007. It's a well-maintained property with little, if any, deferred maintenance. It also has covered carport parking. Again, Mr. Garcia had reported a sales price of $355,000, which is a market value indicator of $35,000 per unit, which is the way we will be comparing the different comparables is on a per unit basis. So the first comparable is 171 North Shasta in Farmersville. In your package, the photos are on page 5. Again, I took those photos in December of 2016. That is a 2-story, 7-unit complex. Also on the following page, page 5, there's a Google Overhead showing the neighborhood. And that property was sold in May of 2014, 5 months before the subject sold. We did not make any adjustment for time on that. It was built in 1995, 12 years older than the subject. We did not make an adjustment for the age also. Again, we treated it very conservatively. The property is in average condition, well maintained with little, any deferred maintenance. It also has covered carport parking like the subject. The value was $400,000. We made no adjustments, and that results in a per unit value of approximately $57,000 per unit. Second comparable sale is 1031 North Bates in Dinuba. There's a photo on page 6 I took personally in December of 2016. And again, it represents what I saw, which is a well-maintained two-story, 11-unit complex. The following page, page 7, also shows a Google Street View overhead of the neighborhood. That property sold on May 21st of 2014, 4 months prior to the subject sale, and again, conservative and made no adjustment for time. Property was built in 1973. It's 34 years older than the subject. Even though it's inferior in age, we did not make an adjustment for that. Property also has covered carport parking. The sales price was $660,000. Made no adjustments again, and it resulted in a per unit price of $60,000 per unit. Two more comparable sales. Comparable number 3 is actually in Woodlake, as is the subject. It's located at 170 South Magnolia in Woodlake. There's photos on page 8 that, again, I took in December of 2016. It's a 6-unit complex, single story, in average condition, has no covered parking, just concrete parking in front of the units. And again, the following page, page 9, shows a Google Street View and an overhead of the neighborhood. This property was built in 1983, 24 years older than the subject. Once again, no adjustment was made for time or for age. That property sold in January of 2012 for $300,000. It's almost 3 years prior to the subject. But this property resold this year in July of 16 for $320,000, which we felt justified a market adjustment of $5,000 per year. So on this property, we did make a time adjustment of $10,000. That resulted in an indicated value of $310,000, or just under $52,000 per unit. The last comp is in Exeter, which Mr. Ozunian has spoke of, located at 320 North East Street in Exeter. Photos which I took personally in December. They are on page 10. And page 9 also shows a Google Street View and an overhead of the neighborhood. Excuse me. This property is 2 stories, 7 units, has covered parking like the subject. It was built in 1979, so it's 28 years older than the subject. Once again, to the taxpayer's benefit, made no adjustment for age of the property. We did use a time adjustment as this property was sold in March of 2013, approximately a year and a half prior to the subject. We made a $5,000 adjustment for market, which resulted in an indicated value of $375,000, just under $54,000 per unit. So, board members and chairman, based on these figures and also based on the appraised value provided by Mr. Garcia in his application, we are recommending the board reduce the base year value and the 2015 roll value to $550,000 or $55,000 a unit. Thank you.
Okay. At this point, the applicant can go ahead and present their case, and then we're going to allow the assessor to ask questions and you to ask questions of him and then conclude. So, go ahead and proceed.
Mire que el precio de las propiedades de Exeter, las propiedades de Inuba, son muy diferentes a las de Buley por el costo de las casas.
The prices of the apartments in Woodlake and Dinuba and Exeter are very different than the ones in Woodlake.
¿Puedes comparar las de Orosi o Cutler?
You can compare them to the ones from Orosi or Cutler.
Para Dinuba, si ustedes se fijan, los precios de las propiedades están bien altas.
But in Dinuba, if you look at the prices of the properties, they're very high.
En Exeter exactamente está lo mismo.
In Exeter, it's the same.
Son ciudades que han estado creciendo y el valor ha subido mucho.
There are cities that have been growing and the values have been going up.
Yo tengo otra cosa. Yo compré una casa en una subasta en Santa Clarita.
Now, there's another thing. I bought a home in an auction in Santa Clarita.
Estaba en el condado de Fresno. El valor de la casa sería como medio millón de dólares.
This would have been, in Fresno, it would have been $500,000.
La casa la compré por $270,000 y nunca me hicieron ajustes.
I purchased the property for $270,000 and there weren't any adjustments made.
Yo pensé que la cosa aquí tengo yo, que Rubén me los vendió por $356,000 con $805.07.
The thing is that I have the purchase price here for $356,801.
Y aquí está lo que se cerró en el escrow también.
And then I have paperwork from escrow company showing what
Y
it
aquí
closed
está
for.
lo del price. Dicen que si el valor de la propiedad es de $213,000. Eso es lo que le hizo esta compañía de
And this is the appraisal here. This company did that appraisal and they showed the amount here to be.
¿Y cómo dice el señor que él habló conmigo si no tenía un intérprete?
And how is it that this gentleman spoke to me if he didn't even have an interpreter?
No sé a qué se basa.
Why is he saying that?
No le quise dar documentos.
And that I didn't want to show him any paperwork.
On this letter from Hopper Company, is there a second page?
¿Dónde está? ¿Hay una segunda página?
That's all there is, I think. Just to
Yes.
cover the-
I don't see a signature.
Pero no veo una firma. I have it here.
I don't know.
Ese es todo el precio que...
This is the appraisal.
This is one copy, right?
That's una copia.
Sí.
¿verdad? Yes.
You're an appraiser. Let's take a look at this. He bought this at an auction.
¿Compró usted
Am I understanding that?
pasta?
No, lo compré a
No.
un señor amigo mío.
I bought it from a man, a friend of mine.
So what was his relationship with that man?
Nomás
Relación
la
de
razón que él estaba quería venderlos no tenía ya no tenía para-
Well, the thing is, he was selling them because he didn't have any more money
págalos.
to pay them.
Okay?
Y si los llevaba a la subasta le iba a quitar un porcentaje.
And if he took them to auction, then the auction was
Si
going to
agarraba
take
real
a
estate, también el real estate le iba a quitar un porcentaje. Entonces él me dijo
percentage,
que si-
or if he took it to real estate would take a percentage from that.
I see.
Yeah.
y
Okay.
yo he comprado otras propiedades también en baratas
And
y
I've-
no las he.
And I purchased other properties at low prices, and I haven't.
Esta es la primera vez que me pasó y no entiendo.
And this is the first time this has happened, so I
But
don't understand.
this is a friend, not a relative of any kind.
Entonces, este es un amigo, no es un familiar.
No.
Okay,
No,
all right.
it's not a family member.
At this stage, I'll leave it open for the panel to ask any questions you want. Then the assessor will ask what questions he wants of you, and you can ask what questions you want of him, and then we'll summarize.
Luego podemos dar un resumen.
Okay? So, anybody on the panel would like to ask questions?
I
I'd
would like to, I'm
ask,
sorry.
what is his opinion of value?
Yo pienso que en verdad el valor. Quiera vender, yo pienso que unos $450,000.
To be honest, if I wanted to sell this, around $450,000.
Say again,
450,000.
and your opinion of value is $550?
Yes.
Okay, so we've got a $100,000 difference.
Well, I'm not sure if he's speaking of now or of the time of,
At the time.
That one, que lo compró.
might want to
I
clarify.
think he's
All
talking
right.
about it. Let me get it straight. He paid $355,000 for the property,
¿Cuál es por una propiedad?
assume a loan?
Correct.
How much was the loan?
That amount.
Pardon?
That amount, that's what.
300, that was
Purchased at the loan.
350, that's what he assumed
He
was
just
the loan.
assumed the loan, no other cash.
This wasn't an arm's length if he bought it from a friend, arm's length Prentice, and then,
Le di nomás $2,000 al señor.
why didn't you use the income approach?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask
We
too.
did it at the time.
Pardon?
We used both the income and the market approach at the time. And
What,
that
the time?
resulted in a valuation.
I didn't see it in this
We
document.
felt that the market approach was the most accurate because there's so many different factors involved. We actually used reported expenses and income from the taxpayer.
How much were the other two approaches?
Sorry?
How much did you come up value on the other two approaches? In the income approach, what was your value?
I don't have them immediately available, but they were basically, they coincided, they were very close. Where I came
They were very close?
600.
And how about your market value?
Excuse me, Mr. Fowler, just one.
If I can help, Mr. Fowler, they did do he did do a GRM, which he presented in here, which was 600, and then I think he also did an income.
Okay.
A straight up.
Your range was fairly close then.
He's got 605 here with the income from the GRM and 550 on a price per unit, and that also coincides with Hopper's appraisal of 5.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Okay,
Was there,
go ahead.
on the income approach, what cap rate did you use on that?
Yeah, good question.
At the time, I used a cap rate of 7.5%.
7.5. And what was the net income? Do you have the net
The
income?
net income was about 45,000.
45,000 annual?
I used a 42% expense ratio, felt was really conservative.
All right.
At the time, it was reported that there was, I believe, a very low vacancy, so we used a 5% vacancy factor. We also used rents of 650,000. I'm sorry, 650 per unit, which I believe that was what was.
You said 45,000 net income, right? And that's net after all expenses?
Yes.
And not considering any debt service?
No.
You can't consider debt service when valuing. We have to build it in the rate.
Right.
As far as the taxes go, but the debt service, we
I guess
can't
it just,
deduct.
it affects the cap rate. I mean, if you
Sure.
figure a leverage return.
Right.
Okay.
If it would please the board, we actually have rents that were reported from the owners of the comparable properties. This is proprietary data that is held by the assessor in confidence pursuant to Revenue and Taxation Code Section 408D. We have a second comparative sales worksheet that actually has an income approach built into it based strictly on gross rent multipliers. Candace, would you mind passing this out, please?
But I think that, at 45,000 net income at $450,000 is 10% cap rate.
Mm-hmm.
On the high side, for what things are trading for. I mean, multifamily right now is at an all-high demand. I think that the 7.5%.
What was the date of the sale, though?
14.
14. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
see-
still,
September of 2000.
in 14, it was still, I think, in my opinion, was still probably a 7.5% cap,
And that's what they used.
which is what it lines up with the income approach.
And that 7.5 cap on net income, would it produce what kind of a value?
7.5 at 45,000, $600,000 income.
Hello? Yeah, they're right on.
Right on, right?
Okay,
I just did that math.
going back to Mr. McKinley, any other questions? I think you might have had an extra one.
I want to know what piece of paper you're using to come to your value of $450,000.
Para basarse o apoyarse en la cantidad de $450,000.
En ninguno, yo nomás simplemente, como compro, tengo propiedades y yo pienso que ese es el valor.
Well, none. It's just that I've purchased properties and I believe that's the
Yo
value.
no soy una persona que hace precio y también quería preguntarle a este señor.
I don't make up
¿tiene
prices, but I also wanted to ask, the appraiser, is he licensed?
Pardon?
Is he licensed?
I believe that they have a licensing category for appraisers, is that correct?
Yes.
And what is that?
I'm an appraiser 3. I've been,
Okay. So he's He's a certified licensed appraiser.
Licencia para ser tasador.
Yo no entiendo eso, pero
I understand that.
lo único que yo me siento un poco injusto, si yo compré este precio,
The only thing that I think is unfair is if I purchased at this price,
no nomás tengo una propiedad, tengo muchas que he comprado y tengo como unas 12 propiedades.
you know, this isn't my only property. I have like 12 properties. And
También tengo ranchos que los he comprado.
I have
y
farms that I've purchased.
y los he comprado y el precio ha estado, como él está hablando de 2 años atrás, las propiedades estaban bien altas
And-
y luego se bajan y la propiedad siempre...
And he's talking about, from 2 years ago, properties that have gone up or down.
Y luego a veces los apartamentos no se arrendan. No, él se está basando a una parte de que dice que la vecina, pero a veces los apartamentos no...
And sometimes the apartments aren't even rented out. And he's talking about the neighborhood, and sometimes they're just not rented out.
Sure.
Tenemos que pagar los impuestos, no importa.
And
tenemos
we
que
have to
pagar
pay
los- have
taxes.
to make the payments.
And we have to make all the payments. We have to
Right.
cover all that.
This appraisal from Hopper Company,
La valoración de tasación de
is your appraisal?
Hopper. Esta es su
Ese es del banco.
That's from the bank.
Okay, that's from the bank. And they come out with 550,000 on market value,
Dieron 550,000 el valor del mercado.
and the
Right.
assessor is coming out with 550,000 on market value.
El valor está diciendo que el valor del mercado es de 550.
What's the
Estoy
difference?
hablando de $600,000.
But they're charging me 600,000.
What?
They're charging me for 600,000.
$600,000.
But if I'm understanding the assessor, that they're willing to go to 550 now. That's made the offer.
Cuenta.
Pues si me dieran ellos los 550 se los vendía mejor.
Or if it was 550, then they could just buy it instead.
What's that?
They
Repeat.
could just buy it from me for that price.
The assessor would be allowed to buy it from him for 550?
En tal caso, el tasador puede
I'm just clarifying.
saying,
Nomás un decir, pero yo pienso que justo para mí lo que se está pagando y lo que se está haciendo que sería 450. El banco siempre va a estar arriba.
what would be fair to me is if it would be at $450,000. The bank is always going to
Tiene que estar menos arriba, si no el
Sure.
banco no te presta.
No, I
make
understand.
it higher. Otherwise, the bank won't lend.
Yeah, in effect, let me ask a few questions of the assessor. They can ask you a few. If you have a sale, even if it's an arm's length sale for $350, and the assessor determines the value was higher than that for some reason, do you have the right, and could you read us the section that allows you to assess it at market value at the time of the change in ownership?
Property Tax Rule 2 and Revenue and Taxation Code Section 110.
Does what?
It bases the standard for property taxation at market value.
At market value, even if the sale was less?
Yes.
Even if it was an arm's length sale at less?
Well, if it was an arm's length sale,
It wouldn't have been less.
exposed to the open market where people would have had a chance to perhaps bid on the property, both buyer and seller being informed as to the best uses of the property, and neither being able to take advantage of the exigencies of the other.
That actually happened to me once. In the depth of this recession, I bought a piece of land from a bank. The assessor called me and said, well, just how much did you pay for this? And I showed him what we paid. He says, that's less than what we have it valued at. I said, well, that's what I paid for it. It's a New York bank. And they accepted the lower value. Okay.
Do you happen to remember, sir, how long that
Oh,
property
that
was
was
exposed?
in like 2008, 9.
How
I mean,
long
2008, yes. How long ago it was?
No, how long was it exposed to the open market?
Oh,
Somebody to come in
3 years. I bought it, come to think of it, I bought it in 1995. It had been on the market for 2 or 3 years. That's why they came back to me.
Listed.
Yeah,
Well, that would be a circumstance where
that
the
would
assessor,
qualify
I would
for
think,
a lesser value.
should accept that as a market transaction. And I would think in a market like that, depending on the condition of the property, there would be comparable sales that would support that value as well.
Yes. It was a interesting transaction, but
sure.
in effect, I think that this is where the applicant is indicating he bought it at X, and you came in and determined it with a higher figure, and you had the right to do that.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Sure, go right ahead.
On the income approach, your net number was 45,000. T had mentioned vacancy. Did you take a vacancy factor into that net number?
We at the time, I applied a 5% vacancy.
I was going to ask you about 5%.
As a notation, I spoke with the owner, when I did my appraisal, which I believe was I can't remember how many months after the sale, but it was a relatively short period of time. And I speak Spanish, but my recollection is that we just spoke in English on the phone. So I got most of the information from him at that time, that at the time there was low vacancy, what the rents were, and having viewed the property myself, what the condition of the property was, which is very good. The property is in very good condition. And on the side, we have to look independently at what the market comparables are. And when I looked at this property, I mean, there was nothing this nice. There wasn't even junky properties that were 5,000, or very few per unit. So that was what I made my decision based on.
With the 5% vacancy factor taken into consideration, the vacancy's been approached, at $550,000, which they've offered. That's an 8.2% return, which is probably higher than he could get in the market. So.
Okay. So, in effect, I think at the stage that we're at, I'm going to allow the assessor to make what summary he wants, and if he has additional questions, now's the time to get them out. And then the applicant will do the same, and then we'll wind up determining how we're going to determine a decision.
I think I'll just make a closing statement. Because the applicant's purchase of the property lacked the elements typical of open market transactions as outlined in Revenue and Taxation Code Section 110, the reported purchase price is not representative of market value. The assessor recommends the board reduce the base year value from $600,000 to $550,000 based on the market evidence of comparable sales as well as the applicant's appraised value.
Okay, is that it? Okay. Now the applicant, if you wouldn't mind summarizing your situation, and then we'll determine a procedure.
Primero le voy a, razón que el señor estaba diciendo que no le había entregado yo los documentos.
Well,
Razón que no, okay.
first thing is this gentleman was saying that I had not turned over documents to him. The reason is
Porque le pregunté a él que si tenía que dárselos y él me dijo que no.
because I asked him if I had to give him documents, and he said no.
I know how to. Okay.
¿Ande?
Okay. Lo que yo nomás lo único que estoy y que me estaba avanzando a lo que yo compré los apartamentos. Yo pienso que es justo si le subieran $100,000 más, no le hace, yo los pago de los taxes. Pienso que es justo para ambos lados.
The only thing that I'm concerned with is if it would be reduced by $100,000, I'd be willing, to pay the taxes. I think it would be fair for both sides.
Pero se me hace bien injusto.
I'm going to have to pay them anyway, but I think it's unfair.
I understand.
Ya mire yo los números y no me salen los números.
Because I've already looked at the numbers and they just don't
$7,000
come out for me.
Estoy pagando como $7,200 al año y se me hace.
It's like $7,200 per year, and it just seems.
Tengo unos ranchos.
I have some farms
Que lo hago doble del dinero ese y no pago esa cantidad.
that that I make more than double, and I don't pay that amount on.
Sí, y por esa es la razón que se me hace.
And that's the reason it just seems unfair.
Okay.
Disculpen que haya venido a molestarlos. Pero
I'm sorry to have to come here to bother you,
Pero pienso que es injusto
But
lo
I-
que me estaban haciendo los señores porque
but I think it's just unfair what these gentlemen are trying to do to me.
cuando uno va a hablar con ellos allí, ellos tratan de intimidar a uno.
When someone goes to try to speak to them, they try to intimidate.
Y pienso que aquí me han tratado ustedes bien y gracias.
And I think that you guys have treated me great, and thank you.
Okay? At this point, we'll take it back to the panel and ask the panel what they would like to do. My recommendation would be to take it under advisement and rule within 60 days. However, Mr. McKinley.
Would be acceptable to me.
What would be acceptable to me?
Gentlemen?
Yeah, that's acceptable.
Okay. We're going to take this in advisement and give you a decision within 60 days.
Agradezco
I appreciate it,
y que sean justos para ambos lados.
and hopefully it's something fair for both sides.
Good. Thank you very much for
Mr.
coming.
Chairman?
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
If I may, real quick, if that appraisal report is going to be part of your proceedings, we'd like a copy of it. We've never seen a copy of it. All we've had is the cover letter.
All right.
We've
Okay.
requested copies
We'll
of
get
it,
you a
but
copy
we
of
haven't
this.
got a copy.
Okay?
Do you need that back, that appraisal? No. Okay.
Right here. Thank you. This is the copy. You want me to give this to her?
Yeah, give that to the clerk, have her make, at this stage, we probably should make 6 copies, 1 for each member of the board and the assessor.
But we will require one.
Just 1, that's right. But in effect, I'll get it to the board too, and then we'll consider that when we take it under advisement. Okay, we are, just to make sure, there's 3 items that were non-confirmed for attendance. I want to make sure that they're not here. James McCoy, Lowe's HIW Inc., David Nealon, so they're not here, okay? So, in effect, we have agenda item number 3 that was a non-appearance, Bill Roper, and agenda item number 5, Mr. Ortiz, plus the 3 that are down below non-confirmed. Do I hear a motion to consider them denied for non-appearance?
Yeah, I'll move that we deny for non-appearance items 3, 5, 7, 8, and 9 on today's agenda.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor have signified by saying aye to accept agenda item 3, 5, 6, 7, and 6, or excuse me, 3, 5, 7, 8, and 9 as non-appearance. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Now, what's left is the withdrawals. And item number 4 and the withdrawal calendar for January. Do I hear a motion to accept those as withdrawals?
I move that we accept item number 4 and the withdrawal calendar as withdrawn.
Wait a second.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, that carries. Motion carries. So, I believe, let me just make sure that we've addressed everything on the agenda. Agenda item number 6, Mr. Garcia, we're going to take under advisement in closed session. There are no other closed session items that are on the agenda. Any last comments from the assessor?
No, sir.
Staff? Then the Assessment Appeals Board for Tulare County for January 19th, 2017 is now adjourned. And we're going into closed session.
Yes, we are.
Open session. Okay? Assessment Appeals Board for Tulare County, January 19th, 2017, is now coming out of closed session. We've come to a decision on agenda item number 6, Diego Garcia. And if the clerk wouldn't mind, just for clarity, reading in the application numbers, we'll come to a decision on this.
Application number 2015-0043, APN number 061-100-014-000, application number 2015-00044, APN number 061-100-014-000.
After considering the case further, we've come to a decision to find for the assessor at $550,000. Do I hear a motion to that extent?
Go ahead.
So moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to find for the assessor for agenda item number 6, Diego Garcia. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
Candace, do you need a breakdown of the 550?
Yeah, I will.
Land and value, you mean?
I believe the breakdown would be $120,000 land, $430 30,000 structural improvements, for a total of $550,000. That's as presented by the assessor.
Very good. Any other business to be conducted? If not, meeting is for January 19th, 2017 is now adjourned.
Thank you.